I eventually return. I hear voices and pause behind this clump of trees. Not on purpose. I just hear my name. I hear my father say, "If he wants to survive, he'll figure it out." I hear my mother say, "Are you sure this is the right way?" And my father says, "This is how my old man did it to me. He'll thank us one day." Claire says something, but I can't hear her, just her flat and bored voice. I just stand there, paralyzed, thinking, is this a joke? When I step out, they all gaze at me as if I've been caught. Mom looks away, Dad shrugs, and Claire won't even look at me. I drop the firewood and ask what's going on, and Dad just says, "You'll be fine, you're a man now. Figure it out." And then he begins packing up the tent. At first, I thought he was joking, as if this was some crazy parenting situation. So I go for my bag. But Dad pushes me back, not forcefully, but enough to make his point. Mom tries to say something, but Dad snaps and instructs her to get in the car. I just stand there as they pack up. Claire throws my hoodie at me without saying anything. Mom tries to hand me an old granola bar, but Dad tells her to get in the car. She drops it to the ground. I take up the granola bar. Dad slammed the trunk. I tell him, "You can't just leave me here." He says, "You'll understand when you're older." He then gets into the car. Mom is crying. Claire has her earbuds in, and they simply drive away. I stand there for a long time, hoping they'll come back because this is a joke, but they don't. I tried to call them, but I left my charger in the van, and my phone was nearly dead. I try calling again, but I get nothing. No bars. I check my pockets. I have about $12, a lighter, my phone, the hatchet, and a crappy granola bar. I hike back up the trail, thinking they might be just around the corner, but the parking lot is empty. There's a strange sense, as if I'm not really mad yet, just bewildered. I wait there for a bit, hoping they'll return, but nothing. So I try to return to the site, but I get turned around. The trees all look the same. I am not a scout. I do not hike. As the light sets, I begin to feel cold. So I just find a location and attempt to fall asleep. Every little noise worries me out, but I'm more furious than terrified at this point. Seriously, is this what they believe will repair me? The next day I try to follow the trail markings, but they only loop back. I ration the granola bar, but it's depleted by the second day. I yell for aid several times, but there is no one. I drank from a creek, which was probably not the wisest thing to do. At that time, I try not to sleep much because I'm constantly hearing things. After a few days I'm hungry, exhausted, and frustrated. I keep thinking about what Dad said, and how his father did it as well. I kept thinking he's always talking about tough love, but this feels more like he just wants to get rid of me temporarily. Eventually I encounter some hikers, who gaze at me as if I were a wild beast. One of them hands me water and asks whether I'm all right. I tell them my family has abandoned me, and they just look at each other like, is this kid serious? They lead me back to the trailhead, and I stay there while they try to phone someone. I gave them my parents' phone number, but there was no answer. I end up with some park rangers who call my Aunt Aurora. She picks me up, barely says anything, and drives me to her house, where she prepares a sandwich and tells me to sleep on the couch. The next day, she says my parents are taking their time and it might be best if I stay with her for a bit. I inquired whether they even called. She shrugs, says they need space, and I should think about what I did to push them so far, which honestly irritates me more than anything else. I called again, but nothing happened. After a week at her apartment, I gave up trying. I do not see or hear from them again for 5 years. I moved out at 18, started my own business, and blocked them everywhere. Claire would occasionally send me a message on Instagram, usually with a meme or something, but nothing serious. I figured I was finished with it. I assumed that if they didn't want me, I didn't need them. Then last month my mother showed up at my workplace. Just walks in, looking older and worn, and begins crying. I had not seen her face in 5 years and didn't recognize her at first. I suppose that's how part 1 finishes. If you want to know what happened when she arrived, I will post more. But yes, that is how my family abandoned me in the woods. Not even an apology. Not even a call. Just left. Update 1. Okay, so here's part 2. As I previously stated, if you read part 1, you will know that my mother unexpectedly arrived at my workplace after 5 years of absence. To be honest, it was so bizarre that I felt like I was hallucinating. It's not like we live in the same town. After high school, I went away, blocked everyone, changed my phone number, and everything. So her discovering me is not an accident. She needed to inquire around. She looked rough, like she hadn't slept, and she was simply standing there at the front, as if she didn't know what to say. So I walk up, and before I can say anything, she starts crying. Not even cute sobbing. Simply ugly, snotty, can't catch her breath crying. She clutches my arm and I pull away. It's just instinct. I do not want her touching me. People are staring. I tell her to go outside and she does, still wailing. And I must admit, that irritated me. Seriously, after all this time, you show up and want me to be okay with it? Nah. Outside she tries to converse, wiping her face with her sleeve and apologizing. That she has been trying to find me. She misses me. All this crap. I just stood there. I tell her to get to the point, since I need to go back in there, and she flinches. She begins talking about how things went wrong after I left. Claire seldom talks to her. How Hugo, my father, is not the same. And how she just wants to see me and make sure I'm okay. She apologizes. She claims she never intended for things to turn out this way. It wasn't meant to be this horrible. Hugo only wanted to teach me a lesson. He assumed I would toughen up. That I would return in a few hours and demonstrate my ability to handle myself. I shut her off. I told her I was not interested in her excuses. She tries to grip my arm again, but I push her away. Not difficult, but sufficient. And she kind of stumbles. She looks at me as if I had smacked her. She tries to explain that she didn't have a choice, that Hugo refused to listen, and that she wanted to come back for me but he wouldn't let her. I questioned her why she didn't call the cops, my aunt, or anyone. She gets very silent, just looking down at the sidewalk, and says she is afraid of him. That got me angry more than anything else, because Mom always pretended to be on my side when I was younger. But once Hugo became agitated, she would simply comply. Always. I scream. You let him leave me there. You never called. You never even tried. She starts crying again, talking about how she was so young and didn't know what to do. I just stand there, arms folded. I do not care. People are walking past, some giving us states, but I'm not sure. She then begins to discuss how things went wrong. Hugo became increasingly mean-spirited. How Claire began slipping out. How the family simply fell apart. She claims she lost her job. They moved to a smaller space. Hugo began drinking more and getting into conflicts with his neighbors. She claims she tried to contact me, but my Aunt Aurora refused to give her my information. I know it's a lie. Aurora scarcely spoke to me after I left, only sending the occasional Facebook message. So I confronted her about it. She shrugs and says she may have misremembered. I ask her what she wants from me. Straight up. She says she just wants to know if I'm okay. I want to chat. Maybe get some coffee. Attempt to reconnect. I laugh. I couldn't help it. I ask her if she believes she deserves it for what she did. She starts crying again, saying she knows she shouldn't, but she still wants to try. I ask her why Hugo dislikes me so badly. Why did he do it? She claims he always believed I was weak, that I lacked the necessary qualities, and that he was afraid I'd grow up to be one of those loser kids. She claims Hugo's father did similar things to him, such as abandoning him in areas and forcing him to find his own way home. Hugo was often saying that boys these days don't know what it's like to struggle. I add, that's not an excuse. That's just being a jerk. She replies, she understands. She wished she had done something else, but she didn't know how. I tell her I do not care. I am not interested in a family reunion. I do not need her. I made it with none of that. She tries to express her pride in me for surviving. That she thinks of me every day. All of that. I tell her it's not my problem. She tries to hold my hand but I jerk away. She begins crying louder. A security guard approaches and asks if everything is good, and I respond, yeah, we're done here, and walk back inside. She waits outside for about an hour, then sends me a number of texts with huge phrases like, please talk to me, I'm begging you, I need you in my life. I blocked her phone number. The next day I received a direct message from Claire. Just ask. Mom's a mess, what did you say to her? I don't respond.